Okay, let's get started. First off, congratulations to all the performers at the Garage Band Festival. You all did a fantastic job.
Great job.
We would like to announce the winner and what we decided to do last minute, which was to do an honorable mention. It was a lovely competition. It's the first time we've ever tried to do anything like this. I was telling my judges yesterday that I'm not a competitive person at all. Like, I think music and competition are this kind of weird thing. When I was in 5th grade, I let somebody win a spelling bee. Like, legitimately, I let her win because I didn't want to win. Like, I felt like I was taking. You know, I'm just not competitive. It's like, I want to be family, community, and I want it to feel good. On the other hand, it's kind of nice to reward people when they do a great job. And so we kind of wanted to do that with this and give you something to work towards. So, having said that, we'd like to announce our honorable mention first. Can I get a drum roll? Winning the first Garage Band Festival honorable mention, would you please give it up to Silverton High School?
Great job, guys.
What we'd like to do is to honor the writer of the tune, and since we do this for our Vocal Jazz Festival, we would like to talk to you after about a potential tuition waiver for next year as an award. You should be clapping. That's a lot of money. Yes. So let's talk about that. Okay, and coming in at the highest score, but also just a beautiful performer and a lovely young budding artist. Our first place winner, who will perform tomorrow night and will also get a professional recording here at the CCC studio, is the lovely Miss Chelsea Thompson.
Better get used to that applause, just saying.
So what we would like to do, because we do have some of our CCC Foundation board members here, we'd like to invite you to start off this panel discussion by singing your song, if you would share that with us. Yeah. Yeah. Do you have your ukulele? Cool. Would you like to come up and... Would you like... Would you please give it up for the lovely Miss Darcy Evan here?
Thank you. I'm really excited to hear your performance. So how many of you are current students here at Clackamas? Awesome. Do we have any graduates? CCC, almost? So close. Excellent. And then some high school students? That's great. Well, one of the things we want to do here at CCC is keep you in our family. After you leave, before you get here, we want you to know that we want you to be part of what we do here at Clackamas. We have an alumni association. We want all of you to be a part of our alumni association so that after you graduate from here, we can keep track of you. And it'll be really easy for the music department to shoot you an email and tell you when a performance is coming up, something that you might be interested in. We can just keep in touch. And that way you can help us here at CCC keep this music program going. And we maybe can help you keep your careers going by certain contacts that we have that we may be able to help you out with. So I hope you'll all join the Alumni Association. Does that sound like something you might want to do? Hope so. Yay. You can just go to our website. And what I'll do is I will get something printed up and put it on your bulletin board out here. You guys can all take a look at it and go to the link. Do you know the? give.clackamas.edu. You can find your way there. We call it Clackamas Classmates because we know that we want to count you as alumni whether you've taken one class here or you've gotten a whole certificate or degree. So I hope that you'll all join. Thank you.
The lovely Miss Chelsea Thompson, everyone.
Let me
be behind you judging you again.
All right, this is the first song I've ever written. I don't know how many of you have already heard it in the other room. Yeah. Half frozen full moon, shallow water at my feet. It's cold and dark, and all I want is you right here, be next to me. Tell me you're waiting for me to. Tell me I'm not on my own. 'Cause darling, you are the one I wanna kiss, and can you take me far away from here and closer to you? I know we're under that same moon. Maybe you're gazing at it too. My pulse is sinking with the waves. Maybe one day they'll reach you. Tell me you're waiting for me to. Tell me I'm not on my own. 'Cause darling, you are the one I wanna kiss, and can you take me far away from here and closer to? Together we would be the best. I can feel it in my chest. Never fall apart. Never break each other's hearts. Then you would tell me I've been waiting for you to. I'll never let you be alone. 'Cause darling, you are the one I wanna kiss, and can you? Let's fly far away from here.
Okay, without further ado, I'm going to step out of the way and let these amazing judges who have been so gracious, they've been so lovely and gracious and helpful and kind and honest, and really awesome for them to take time out of their busy professional musician schedules to come here and work with you. So give it up for these amazing judges. I'm going to do a little bit of work back here, but I'll be back, so I'll turn it over to you.
I think what she asked us to do is to tell you a little bit of our road to becoming professional musicians. You know, how that happened, and maybe any pieces of wisdom we might be able to encourage you with in finding a road to be a professional musician. Oh, so you want to start?
Sure. Let's see here. My name is Sean Sullivan, and I went to the University of Washington for audio engineering, and I've been a professional DJ and electronic music producer going on 25 years. I played my first events back in 1992, and I've since run a couple record labels. I've played all over the world as far as a DJ, and so Kathleen asked me to come because I think she's heard me play a few times over the years. We go way back to the early 90s. I think if I were to offer you all one nugget of truth that I've learned, and I kind of talked about this a little bit in the workshop I gave yesterday, is that one of the hardest parts about succeeding in any business, and especially as a musician, is understanding the connection between success and building interpersonal relationships with the people that you're dealing with out in the world. You're never going to be able to just pop in a CD and expect somebody to hire you or book you or want you to perform or anything like that. No matter how good you are, the path to success over the long term, for me at least, and this is a hard lesson for me to learn, is developing these friendships, going the extra mile to meet people, shake hands, showing up at the events, participating, being part of a community, being part of a scene, and cultivating these friendships and these relationships over the years. I also do professional photography, and one of my biggest clients right now that I deal with is a guy I went to high school with. I graduated in 1988. We're talking, almost 30 years ago. We were connected not too long ago, and he runs a clothing business, and he's been hiring me for photo work lately, and it's been amazing. And it just goes to show that you never know who it's going to be out there that is going to be your ticket forward. And so my advice to you is cultivate these relationships, and remember that even when you think no one's looking or no one's watching or no one's listening, there's always somebody listening. There's always somebody watching what you do. There's always somebody observing your behavior and your actions, both good and bad. So keep that in mind and build those friendships with people, and that's how you're going to find your path forward. That's my number one piece of advice to all of you going forward.
Good advice. My name is Tariq Abu Zaid. I am a drummer and bass player and piano player and guitar player. I went to the University of Washington also. Hey, what's up? I finished in 2006, and I've been performing and teaching since, both as a band leader and a sideman in a lot of different contexts. And I would say that the thing that has led to whatever longevity I've had in playing music and sustaining myself with it is that I was really deliberate about taking some time every year, every 6 months, to just stop what I'm doing and think about what do I want out of this, because a musical life has many, 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 many paths. You can be an audio engineer, you can be a musician, you can be a manager, you can be it's a huge world, and it's really easy to just kind of get pushed into one direction or the other without really even noticing, right? And I think everybody up here can probably attest to a time where they're like, I didn't think I was going to be in this world, but here I am, and maybe I'm happy, maybe I'm not. So I think for me, just being deliberate about what I do and why I do it and what I want to get out of it has been really helpful for me, and it's been a lot easier to avoid some of the stresses that you come up against when you're an artist of any kind.
All right, my name is Jan Zingber. I grew up in Eugene, Oregon, and I moved to Colorado for music. I was a total musical late bloomer in that I didn't realize that music was something I wanted to do until I was out of high school. So I know sometimes when you're young, and when I was young, I thought, oh, everyone has this head start on me. Like, oh, there's always someone better and some phenom. And it really was, like both of these guys said, my music relationship started with, my music life started with relationships. Just people I cared about who also were passionate about the same kind of things I was interested in. And so I just followed what felt good. The music I liked, I gravitated toward learning as much as I could from people who I thought had the secret sauce that I wanted, that to me was unexplainable. So I traveled all over. I moved to Colorado. I lived there for 10 years. I joined a band from there. I moved here. I lived as a full-time touring musician. I lived as a full-time gigging musician another time, which is I stayed in one spot and then, I had like 4 weeklies and gigs on the weekend and making it work. And there's so many lessons from all of those lives. And really that's my nugget that I want to give is it was really helpful for me to put myself into multiple positions as a musician, right? To play big stuff, to teach, to play small clubs for no money, to do all of those things were really important. And I got to get a lot of wisdom from musicians who had been there before. And just taking in the advice, like you said, of relationships, all the wisdom, asking questions, being with your people, and finding great teachers. That's a big one. And I never stop finding teachers. I am a lifelong learner, and I think in a lot of ways being a musician is being a lifelong learner. Because no matter how much master you have at your craft, there's so many crafts attached to that. There's the craft of relationship building and communication and working with groups, and there's the craft of engineering your music and making it sound good on record when you know it sounds good from what you're playing, but how do you make that come across when you record it? And there's so many facets of this to learn from and to keep your eye on what it is that you want out of it and keep, striving to gain knowledge in every one of those areas. So that's my path. Thanks.
Yeah, I like that, being a lifelong learner. That's a great attitude to have. And I guess, I've lived that as well. I went to college with the idea of studying music, and then I remember being in orchestra, being like bored out of my skull. Being a percussionist in an orchestra, and I just go, this is not happening. So I ended up studying art. I got a bachelor's degree in visual art. But by the time I graduated from college, I was in Minneapolis, and I was making money doing recording sessions, playing for jingles and gospel records in the incredible studio that was there in Minneapolis. So I got to cut my teeth, with really good engineers in a really good studio. So then I was married by this time, and my wife and I decided to go to LA, and I really wanted to become a studio musician. And so I did. It was a long road. In between, we spent 2 years in Europe where I was in a band that was signed to a German record label. And we lived outside of Basel, Switzerland, which is an amazing city, but we lived in a little village where people didn't really speak English, and it was like farmers and village idiots, literally, and stuff. And I was the village idiot. I was like the weird American guy on the roller skates, But I didn't have anything to do. We were signed to a record label, and we were poor, but we had built this studio. So I practiced like 8 hours a day. I practiced my drums, and we had this isolated room, so it wouldn't bug anybody. And that, for me, was a really important time, just to build my skill level up to a point where I felt like there wasn't anything I couldn't handle. And then the band broke up. We moved back to LA and slowly started in the, I play in clubs and stuff, but in the studio business. And then going back to what Sean said, the guy from Minneapolis who I'd known from college hired me to play on his record. And then from there, I started doing records, and I played by now over 2,000 album projects, you know, and then TV and movies and stuff. So I've made a living primarily as a studio musician. I've toured occasionally. I play bars and play covers, you know, still, because mainly for fun now, but with some amazing musicians. And I'm surrounded by, after 30 years in Los Angeles, I'm surrounded by amazing musicians that are amazing people, you know, that are my friends, and they help me out. They get me gigs, and I get them gigs. And when I'm producing a project, I call them up and I go, I got this project and it doesn't pay very well. Would you come over and play on this for $100 or $300 or whatever? And they're like, sure. So that's a great gift, just to have amazing friends, amazing human beings that are just off the charts musicians, just as good as it gets. And I'm really thankful for that every day. And then, along about the time of the demise of the music business, I don't know if you know, but the music business, roughly, there's half as much money coming into it compared to 10 or 12 years ago. So you just take all that money that was coming in as a result of CD sales, and you just like cut it in half, and then, so you have this pie, half a pie now that all these people have to split. So everybody from the top of the music business to the bottom is generally working for less money, working harder, trying to figure out a way to make it pay, you know. It's just the story of the music business in this era that we live in, you know, because streaming just doesn't pay very well. The revenues just aren't coming in. So now, rather than mostly working in other big studios, I work in my own home studio. I've got a really nice setup at home, and I cut drums for people. Then I started producing bands. Then I started writing. One thing that I will say to you is, get yourself in a position, if you want to make a living at this, where you're writing, where you're creating intellectual property that generates residual income, because otherwise, I know a lot of people that have made a big pile of money who've been rock stars, and then 3 or 4 years later are broke. Literally, it all goes away. However, if you're writing songs, you're writing music, and you have residual income, that smooths out the bumps in the road. And it pays, you know, if you just keep at it. I make money because I have a lot of songs in TV and movies, and now I'm a songwriter, and now I'm in my 60s, and I have a kind of a career as a singer-songwriter, which doesn't make any sense at all. I'm also producing, but like I'm going to Europe and playing with my own band, and it's like, who would have thought, you know? I'm in my 60s and now making pretty good money as a singer and a songwriter. I never even really sang much until I was in my 40s. So just you got to keep open, just keep the door open to whatever comes along, you know, and you know, as well as following your passion. But I've done a lot of gigs along the way that are just for money, you know, just things you have to do, and oftentimes the things that pay really great are the things you think like, why? You know? Yeah. And the things that you think are amazing don't pay at all or pay very little. So, you know, you just keep yourself open, and if you got to pay the rent. And I had kids along the way. I have 3 kids and 5 grandchildren now, so I've got this growing family, and you got to feed them, you know.
I don't think you have to.
I have a quick, will you, just a quick summation of what residual income means? Will you
Okay.
explain to them?
Yep. Whoa, thank you.
Residual
whiskey in
income, there it is.
Yeah, residual income, meaning income that comes trickling in years after you've created the piece. You know, like I wrote for, years ago, I used to write for Warner Brothers Television. They're what's called library music, which meaning I wasn't composing for a specific show. Those gigs pay really well. They're really stressful. People that write for TV shows get really burnt out. but they make big piles of money, and they get residual income. So that income keeps coming, and whenever the show reruns, they get a little piece of it. A friend of mine is Danny Elfman's arranger. Danny, among other things, wrote the theme for The Simpsons. If you can imagine the kind of money that generates, you know, it's just, you don't really have to do anything else, but he does all the Tim Burton movies, and yeah. So Danny and my friend Steve Bartek, who's his arranger, are making lots of money. And that money just keeps coming in year after year. You know, they don't really have to work.
And he started as a rock star, right? As a singer of Boingo Boingo.
Boingo Boingo, yeah.
That's right.
They were
Yep.
awesome.
So I'm now in a band with the bass player and the guitar player from Boingo Boingo. And we just play like 60s covers and kind of goofball original music. It's really fun and really wacky, but yeah,
Yeah, we call residual income mailbox money.
mailbox money.
The money that comes to your mailbox and you go, oh, this was licensed in Indonesia last month? I had no idea. Okay, great.
Royalties.
Royalties.
Yeah. So yeah, do right. You know, be creative. Get yourself in a position if you want to really make a living at it, where you're getting that residual income. Because, like I say, you could be making $1 million 1 year, and then the next year nothing. You know, it's just the nature of the business.
But mostly nothing.
It's feast or famine.
It's about the love and the passion. Hi, my name is Reese Clement. I'm a DJ, and I moved to Portland from New York about a year and a couple months ago. It's been about a year and 4 months now. I started producing events in New York about 10 years ago, and through that party scene knowledge and know-how, I always felt like I could DJ. And even before party producing, at my office jobs or at the family barbecues, I was always the one like putting the music on and figuring out what sounded best at what time. And I made all these mixtapes for work, and no one else cared but me, so I made it like my focus. And after producing events, I started getting closer to setting up sound and getting interested in doing music on a professional level. And I learned how to DJ from a good friend of mine who's had been doing it for 19 or so years. And it kind of came really naturally. I was really good, really fast, and got booked right away because I knew a lot of people from the party scene, and didn't really have the time to cultivate and practice my craft. It's all happened pretty live, but it's been great, it's been good, and like I said, because of the party scene that I was in originally, got lots of work straight out of the gate. So I was able to DJ and party produce full time in New York. But since moving here, I have had to start over, and it's been still good and still lots of fun and interesting. It's a different scene, it's a different world here, almost. But I love it, and it's something that I want to continue doing on this side of the country now. In New York, I was able to play in Philadelphia and DC and Miami and some festivals and different events. And now I'm playing in Colorado and San Francisco and LA over here on this side of the country. So it's been really fun and cool. And if I was able to give anyone some advice, it would be to be open and to be ready. This was an overnight thing for me, but I was excited and I was ready, and I knew that I had that love and that passion from when I was a child. And it just felt right, and also giving them props for bringing up having your relationships intact with people and making sure that you network and always keep your nose clean don't be drunk on stage or high, or, you know, if you got into a fight with someone before your gig, it could affect your performance. But professionalism means keeping a level head, staying sober, and remembering the love and the passion that you have for what you're doing, which is the reason why you're up there in the first place. And also remembering all of those artists that inspired you. And now that you are on stage, you are inspiring someone else. And I learned that halfway through my career. I had taught a DJ course here yesterday, and I was telling some of the students how I played last weekend, and it was on a different setup that I was used to playing on. And my headphones were kind of a little too low, and I was just like making all these faces and super obvious about what was happening. And I should not have done that. I should have smiled and maybe did a fist bump and like, I got this, you know, it's fine. Because that's part of professionalism. So yeah, I would say to also always be perceptive to critiques and advice from people. And if someone tells you that what you're doing is awesome and they love it, and you're crushing it, you're killing it, we are all our worst critics and our biggest critics. And receive that love and that feedback and let that help you become a better artist. Because they mean it. They don't know the mistakes that you made. You know because you are going on this path to perfection. But during your performance, the audience is open to what you're giving them, and they could be going through their own, they are going through their own things and are listening to what you're playing for different reasons. So I would also advise to keep that relationship with the audience and make eye contact with people and feel them out. It's important as a DJ as well to feel the vibe of the room, and if people are in a sort of sad place that day because someone just got elected that we didn't want to be elected, or I was able to play a gig the day after this last election, and I was super honored to play that because I understood the responsibility to uplift everyone in that space and in that room, and spent time on working on music that I thought would be happy and uplifting and soulful and brought people together, and but also left space to, you know, if people wanted to cry, like people were passing out candy and little hearts to each other, handmade hearts and things like that. And it's a big responsibility being a musician because music is so emotional and personal to people. So my advice would be to keep that in mind.
Should we take some questions?
Do we want to open it up to questions? Yeah. Anything specific you got? There must be something.
Yeah.
Have any of you ever faced a roadblock in your career that made you like second guess whether or not music was for you, or like made you be like, oh, well, maybe this is like too much, I can just step back, but then like in the long run.
Like every other day.
Yeah, constantly.
How many of those roadblocks?
All the time.
And that's why it's important to know what you're trying to get out of what you're doing, because there can be things that may seem like roadblocks, but
Right, kids.
really have no effect on what it is you're trying to do. For example, there is a music festival in Seattle going on in a couple of weeks. It's brand new. It's called the Upstream Fest. It's supposed to be like the South by Southwest of Seattle, right? And this artist who has been in Seattle for a really long time, she applied and she didn't get selected, and a bunch of her friends got selected, and immediately she went onto social media and just started complaining about it. Like, I've been here, I've been paying my dues, I've been doing this, I'm really bummed, really pissed. But it's one festival. It's one chance to perform out of probably thousands that she's done in her career. and you have no idea what the criteria were for who they selected, or why they did this, or how many spaces there were. You know, there's 1,000 different things that can go into who made that decision that have nothing to do with how good is she, how many records does she, you know. And so she chose to take that news as a roadblock, as something to bring her down. When in reality, and this is, for me, every time I've gotten something I thought was really cool, like a gig at a new venue or something, and then I've done it, and I'm like, oh, this is just like every other gig. This doesn't change anything, right? But she could have just chosen to think of it that way. So it's really about how you react to what comes at you. And if her goal, if you asked her a year ago, what is your musical goal? There's very little chance that her answer would be to play the Upstream Festival. Like, that is not her ultimate goal, you know? But here she is getting really upset about it. So that's my piece.
Yeah, I have experienced so many roadblocks. I don't even know where to start. And to me, there's a really important piece, is that this is more about our development as human beings than it is about musicians, because this happens to everyone, right? And what he was saying was exactly right. It's framing, how you frame that roadblock. And it took me a while to frame it as a true opportunity, because on almost every single roadblock, my path diverged. I went in a little different way. And that, like I said, a path of growth and learning, that was it. It was like, oh, okay, so this isn't working. There are so many parts of musicianship and music and making it work. And yeah, sometimes it's time to go to the shed, which means to practice, to get good at my craft, to do those things. Whatever it is that can motivate and drive us, use them. Whatever. If it's the roadblock, great. If it's the love and affection you get, awesome. If it's some really harsh feedback, use it. You know, if it gets you closer to what you want, then yeah. So reframing those roadblocks as opportunities to do something different and to expand my range as a musician is how I do it.
And there's a Buddhist saying, which is life is suffering, which is very intense. There's like a more practical version of that, which is expect difficulty. Right? You are going to hit a roadblock every single day, no matter being a musician or a librarian or whatever it is that you are. You know, it's going to happen. So don't let it stop you.
For me, as a DJ, one of the roadblocks that I've run into is deciding how strictly I'm going to stick to my sound. There's a lot of gigs out there for DJs who will play anything to anybody. I'm not one of those people. I'm very selective about the music I play, and I'm extremely selective about the people I'll play it for. I also am a professional photographer, so I have the luxury of being able to handpick the gigs that I want to play and the gigs that I don't want to play. Not every musician has that opportunity. If it's your goal to go out there and play anything and everything, and to make money at it, then you're gonna have to compromise your ideals when it comes to your sound and who you want to be playing for. I don't like playing for wedding crowds unless it's a close friend of mine. So I don't really take wedding gigs. I'm not a wedding DJ. I don't play hip hop very much. Nothing against anybody who's into hip hop. I love hip hop, but that's not my sound. If somebody asks me to come play hip hop, I'm not gonna accept the gig. I'm gonna tell them to go find somebody who that's their passion. My passion is a very specific kind of electronic music, and I stick to that. And so I choose quality over quantity when it comes to the gigs that I accept. In return for that, I make a lot less money. A lot less money. I couldn't make a career out of DJing if I wanted to, and still be able to stick to this ideal that I hold so dear. I play half a dozen gigs a year now, 25 years into it. But those gigs, every single one of them, they pay me right, they know what they're getting, and the crowds are always exactly who I want to be playing for. That's what I'm looking for, is I want that experience. To me, I would take no money if I was guaranteed to have that awesome experience of performing for a crowd that's into it, they love what I'm playing, they're there to hear me, they know what they're gonna get, you can't put a price tag on that. I would rather take that non-paying awesome gig than a $1,000 gig for people who could care less about what I'm up there doing. The people I play for care about what I'm doing, and those are the people that I want to play for. That could be a roadblock if you allow it to be, but to me, it's just a standard that I keep. I keep a high standard, and by doing so, I might not make a bunch of money off it, but it allows me to make every single experience I have on stage a worthy, awesome experience, a true memory that I can carry with me. I call it the ultimate DJ experience, and that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for that DJ experience. And that's, to me, it's not a roadblock, it's an opportunity to have great times. So that's what I've turned it into.
And I will add that the reason that, you know, we can relate to the high-paying, soul-sucking gig is because we've all done them. And it's
For
really,
sure.
it's experience of doing it. When we're talking about range, that's it. We've all taken a gig where it's like, oh, we're getting paid so well, and oh, why do I feel so terrible? But that's part of the learning involved. You know, you won't know that until you get there. That's all there is to say. You know, and taking lots of gigs, this is 25 years of experience knowing exactly what works for him. So, any other questions?
Yeah, kind of going along with that last one in a similar vein is, why did you take the safe route? Like, why did you do music instead of doing something that's, you know, that's safe, that's really reliable? Because music is so, it's scary.
Because we're crazy.
Are you saying financially?
Well, yeah, like, I mean, job security is a huge thing, especially right now.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Everything's just getting more expensive. So why choose music instead of, you know, something more traditional that is secure?
I like to say, since I was in high school, that music is a life sentence. It's like once it touches, once it's holds that kind of importance in my life, it's something that I'm going to be doing. It'd be nice if I got paid while I was doing it as well. But I think, you know, mattering your relationship to how you're going to financial security, some of us have branched out in other ways that we make money so that we can take less of those gigs that compromise a little bit. And that's part of it. You know, being a musician doesn't look one way at all. There are so many ways to do it, including teaching, right? Teaching is a huge piece. And I think it's really important. It's an important part of being a musician, is being clear enough about the ideas yourself to be able to share them with someone else and have them actually get it. So I found teaching to be really, really valuable. And I'm totally new at teaching because I spent so much time on the road performing, right? But all that performing didn't get me any mailbox money. You know, it's true. There's the business of music and how to make it work is it's a complex and totally individual beast. And each person will have their own way. And yeah, I didn't take the security because I just loved it so much. I wanted to figure out a way that would work for me.
I believe that as an artist, it's not really up to you. You have that talent and drive and love, you'd be miserable otherwise if you didn't pursue it. And it doesn't mean you can't have a second job or maybe even 3 and just figure it out as far as this thing called money that we need to survive somehow. But for an artist, you also need your art form to survive. So you just gotta figure it out. and just remember, you know, the reasons why is because of love. And you get up in the morning and you want to go to make money, but you would rather be playing your guitar or doing whatever, and you just, if it moves you that much, you'll figure out how to do both.
Yeah, it's a compulsion, you know, it's something you have to do. But I will say that it's much harder now, and you guys are gonna witness that. When I was younger, it was a lot easier to make a living playing music. There were a lot more gigs paid better. There were more sessions paid better. There was more money around. So I have a whole new group of friends, young guys, they're all right around 30, you know, 28 to 34 maybe, who are in LA, who are incredible musicians. And they're either on the road, some of them like tour with Shakira, people like that, or they're working a day job and playing gigs for $50 or nothing around LA. It's kind of sad, really, because, you know, I raised a family playing, you know, gigs, but you know, I would make, you know, $200, $500 a night playing gigs, and then I was doing sessions 2 or 3 days a week and making anywhere from $500 to $1,500 a day. It's really rare anymore. It's really hard now for young musicians. And it might be better in Portland than LA. I think it's probably the same. But it's really tough now. And I know, like I say, this crop of amazing musicians, that, like I say, they're all right around 30, you know, but they're just like, not only guys with great chops, that's one thing, but guys that are musical and they're team players and they're sensitive and they're creative and they bring a lot to the party when you create with them, you know. And those guys are, man, they're having a hard time making a living, those young guys. I'm a little more established and I have a bigger network of contacts that keeps me working.
And if you could be the generation that figures out how to bring the finances back to music, or we're counting on you.
But
Well, that's what we need. We need some business people to figure this thing out, because artists always get, we're at the end of the food chain, you know, the people who control the money that keep most of it, and they give the artists who generate the content, whether you're a photographer or whatever, a musician, we get the crumbs off of the business people's table. But we need business people to create new models, to figure out how to get more money flowing back into the music business. We need creative minds to do that.
I think that's all true, and I don't want to discount anything anybody said, and I've definitely struggled financially sometimes too, but I just have a couple of points. Raise your hand if you have bought a CD, paid for a movie, watched TV. Hey, everybody in this room.
Almost everybody.
In your entire life, you've never paid for a movie or bought a CD? Yeah. Yeah. You paid, everybody on the planet. No. Everybody on the planet pays for music one way or the other. Every single person. And I think it's insanity to think that you wouldn't be able to make a living contributing to that, because it is a perpetually in-demand product. And it is harder, but it's possible to justify to somebody to pay you for that service. Okay, that's one thing. Two, people used to be able to raise a family driving trucks. They can't do that anymore. And those jobs are going to be gone very soon too, to self-driving trucks. Lawyers are going to be automated. You know, like there's no such thing as a safe option anymore, really, when you think about it. And then the last point I want to make is, if you were to ask yourself, just kind of broadening my what do you want out of music, what do you want out of life? If you were going to ask yourself, how do I want my life to be designed as far as what do I spend my time on? How many of you would choose spend 8 hours a day, 5 days a week in an office? 0 people. What? Okay, one, right? But nobody makes that choice. It's insanity to me to make that choice. But a lot of us do it just because it's the thing, you know? It's the thing that people do. But you don't have to do it. And your life doesn't have to look the way that your parents' life looked like. And it's really hard, really. I mean, all of our parents had it a lot easier in a lot of ways. You know, their incomes were higher straight out of college. They could pay for a house with 1 year's salary or something like that, you know. So I think if you're that nervous about going into an artistic life, it might be because you've bought into this idea of what your life is supposed to look like without really thinking about what do you want. That's my answer to that.
My input on this question is why do you have to why does it have to be one or the other? Why does it have to be a career or music? I have this belief that the minute you make the art about the money is the minute you start to become a desperate musician or a desperate artist who's going to struggle their way to the top, probably wallow in obscurity their whole life, then get burned out on it and not want to do it anymore. The money has to be secondary to everything else, period. You can't make it about that, or you're going to end up compromising every bit of ideal and integrity that you have.
No matter what you're doing.
Yeah, that applies to everything, but especially with artistry, and for me with photography as well, is like I love doing these things. So I do them because I love the music. I love electronic music. I love all kinds. I came up on rock and punk. I love that music, but I made a decision when I was in my early 20s that this was never going to be my permanent profession, because if I made it my profession, then I was going to start doing exactly what I said not to do in the previous question, and that was taking gigs that I didn't want to take, playing shows and for crowds that I didn't want to play for. I was not going to compromise my ideals. I'm going to decide who I play for. I'm going to decide the songs that I play and the way I play them. No one's going to dictate to me. And by maintaining that integrity all these years, pushing 2 decades, I've built this reputation on that. As a person who, when you book me to play, you're not just booking a DJ, you're booking this guy and this sound. The promoter always knows what they're getting from me. Always. And if they don't, they can go on YouTube and see videos, they can listen to my mixes, they can ask around. They're always going to know what they're going to get. So the bottom line is, don't go into it trying to make it your career. I wouldn't if I were you. But if it becomes your career, then lucky you. You're one of the select one of a trillion that get there. And you're very fortunate. But if you can find a balance between compromising what you believe in and finding success, that balancing point, if you can land right in that spot where you're able to get both, then you're one of the lucky few. And I applaud you, because it's a difficult thing to succeed at. But I would never try to make that your goal. Making great music your goal.
Uh-huh.
And if the money comes, then it's a bonus. That's how I would look at it. Don't ever go into it trying to make it your career. Make it your passion. And if it becomes your career, then lucky you.
I have an interesting story around the business of music, in that when I started as a musician, I avoided the business of music like the plague. I was in a band. I didn't want to be part of any of that. It just seemed like everything I didn't want with music. I wanted all of the art and the creation and people, but all the edginess around business and negotiation, I didn't want a part of. So I have been touring in this band called the Motet from Colorado for 17 years. And about 13 years into it, our business flatlined. And so, remember how I was saying to really put yourself in all aspects of music? Well, I decided, okay, if I was going to create a business model from scratch, what would it look like? So we kind of recreated our band, and I dreamed up this process of collaboration. We collaborated, we got a new sound, and I got really involved in the business of music. And the learning curve was so great. I mean, I learned so much in 3 years running that band, and truthfully, it was really rewarding when it started to do well, and it wasn't about the money. We were making more original music than we ever had. And someone's got to do the business. Someone's got to do the emails, make sure that you are surrounding yourself with people that you have great lines of communication with. If you have a manager, if you are working, there's so many pieces of a touring music band. I mean, publicist, there is, manager, there's who tours with you, right? Road manager, light person, sound person. And every one of those, it is so important to be mindful what kind of relationship you have there. Because when you build that kind of family and network to support you, you want it to be something that is sustainable, truly sustainable. And and the band did way better than we ever had. 13 years, kind of like this. And in 3 years, we went from selling out, in our hometown, 800-seat venue, which is great. I mean, for a band, even getting there, to selling out Red Rocks, 10,000 people. And it was really just having a business plan, inviting in great business minds to collaborate. And I learned so much, and those things I don't unlearn. So now in music, I make sure when I'm doing the business that the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed and everything is totally clear and understood before going into every arrangement. And it has really helped. It's like that place that I was resistant of, now I see as getting really clear at first, and everyone knows what they're getting, and this is the guarantee, and we're feeling good about this, totally done and done. Because being in the back of a club, fighting over the details of a deal, I thought that, you said it was, we get 80% after the first 200 people who are in. Well, I have an email that says 55, all these things, that's real, right? So, just places that I was scared of and intimidated of. Once I leaned into it, it really opened up being a professional musician for me.
Maybe I can throw something in, if that's all right. Listening, and it's so interesting, it's lovely to hear you. I want to throw one more angle there in that at some point in your career, you're just going to have to not take no for an answer. And sometimes you're going to get no, you're going to get things falling apart, like the band falls apart, or you didn't get that gig, or, there's going to be times along the way, but you have to know so deep in your heart, that there's nothing else in the world that you ought to be doing. There's things you could be doing, but there's nothing, and this is the element that I want to bring in, is this element of let's just say it, spirituality. Music is a very spiritual thing. When we share these feelings, when we share these rhythms, when we were doing the rhythm jam yesterday, we're all connected on a different level that you can't talk about. We're not holding hands, but we're connected in something. And spirituality is all about community and learning from one another. And I think that it's important to have that mission as you're doing your work to get where you want to be. Because if it is just about the money in business, which it almost never is, but sometimes it is for some people, if it's just about the fame, the ego gratification, that's the big part of it, is the ego. If you're doing it for that, you're gonna hit a dead wall. You're never gonna break through to the other side, because as long as it's about, I've said this to my students before, if there is a devil and a Jesus, maybe it's the ego and the spirit, maybe that's what that's all about. And so if you're constantly on the self-gratification side of I want to be famous, I want to be on the road, I want to have a big pop tune or whatever, you may very well get that. And what David was saying is, and you may lose it. You may very well lose it too, but I think if you stay divinely connected, whatever that means to you, in your music and in the community that you create around that music, and you just don't take no for an answer, because you're going to fall down in this career. You're going to do some really stupid things, and that's part of the process. But if you stick with it and you just get up on your feet again, and you keep going because you have this divine, or this passion, this desire, then universe, whatever, the Ron Wow, like, will sort of pave the way for you if you really believe and you really give that sense, because where did your desires come from? Your desires come from your inherent authenticity. Where does your inherent authenticity come from? Well, I don't know how we got here, and I don't know who made us. I didn't figure that out. I don't know the answer to that. I don't need to know, but I know that I'm pretty grateful to be alive, and so I kind of want my work to serve that thing that got me here, because otherwise I wouldn't have that desire. I wouldn't have the desire to put something like this together so more people can learn from each other. I wouldn't have the desire to write songs or, you know, do crazy things like get up at 4:30 every morning. You know, like you have to have something that drives you. And the beauty is that sometimes you are going to hit a wall, and the beauty is that you're going to sometimes fall on your face and like lose opportunities because you did the wrong thing, or you partied all night and you didn't show up to the gig, or you know, or whatever. Like that's all part of the richness of the journey. And I don't know. I guess what I'm trying to say is if you really want to do this, the money will come. If you really believe that this is what you want to do, the money will be there, and you'll be able to live and survive. You might even be able to, like, you know, buy a new car. You might even thrive, but you're always going to make the divine or the universe, whatever you want to call it, is going to just see, oh, okay, they're not taking no for an answer, and they really want to take that desire that they have, so I will meet them halfway by creating opportunities to help that passion move along. And I really believe that, and my life is kind of like, my life is a testament to that.
Anybody have any more questions for us? Anything they've thought of, or intimate details they would like to know about? I'm sure somebody here would like to spill the beans.
What was it like being growing up?
Say it again?
If you're gonna make a joke, you gotta commit, man.
Yeah.
Can't cut out halfway.
Any intimate details? What was it like for you growing up?
Okay,
It's a broad question.
for me growing up, that is an interesting question. You know, a big growing up moment that I had as an artist was when I was about 23, and I had been performing for about a year, playing shows on the turntables, and this is when we all played vinyl, so the artistry was a huge part of it that you're not really seeing right now. And I am absolutely positive that every one of these people sitting next to me are going to concur with me on this. As a musician, you are going to reach a moment of clarity when you have to decide whether you're going to be the party guy or whether you're going to be the artist. And that came to me when I was about 23, 24 years old. I was starting to tour around. I was starting to play multiple shows, and sometimes I was flying to multiple cities. I'd be in Chicago, New York, Miami, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, like that. And by the time I got to Miami, everybody wants to party with the DJ. You know, everybody's like, all right, as soon as they pick you up at the airport, they're throwing everything at you, like, let's do this. And I'm like, you have no idea what I've been through the past 3 days. I've been practically up for 3 days. I just want to go to my room. I want to go to sleep. I want you to come and get me an hour before the gig, and I'm going to come play. Point being that I had to make a decision at one point whether I wanted to be the party guy or be the professional. And I chose the professional. I wanted to be a master of my craft, and I wanted to step up there and blow people's minds. And I wanted to be brought back. And I've stuck to that ever since. You know, everybody has their proclivities and times they like to cut loose, but if you're going to take it seriously, then you got to take it seriously, and you got to get up there and be a professional. And that's sometimes is a tough pill to swallow, because you want to be the party. You know, that's what we're doing. We're here to party. Let's do it. You can't always do that. You got to like get up there and perform first. Let the party come after. Celebrate your wicked performance when you're done with it, but perform first and then take care of that business. And that was a big decision for me. And when I made it and I didn't look back, it's worked wonders for me. And I would advise all of you to sort of try to stick with that. Be a pro.
So that's what it's like growing up, punk.
Yeah.
Maybe you could talk about, I wanted to try to bring this in somehow during this festival, but festival culture, community culture, the culture of how dance music and live dance music is important to the community. Maybe we can go there, something like that. Go, Izzy, go.
I have a lot to say about festival culture. Is my favorite, and where I would say that you can make money. I definitely started, like I said, party producing, and some of those parties were attached to festivals, and I've helped build festivals and gotten there a week or two ahead of time to build infrastructure and everything. And it's a wonderful place to grow as a musician as well, and to gain a following and to connect with people, because you get to actually hang out with them at the festival. And you're learning about, like we've all been saying, keeping a level head and being professional. And festival, who's been to a festival?
Does a rave count?
I don't,
Raves are
I'm
the-
not speaking about raves, I'm speaking about festivals and like overnight festivals where you're gonna go, you're camping out, you're there. It's really easy to just party super hard and miss everything, like what you were saying. And there's a lot to learn about yourself just as a festival goer, and especially as a musician. Who knows about Burning Man? Has anyone ever heard about the festival of Burning Man? Kathleen definitely knows about Burning Man. And I can speak on that festival. You're on the moon. It's a crazy time and place. You don't need any extra influences to become influenced, be under the influence, because it's just like, this is crazy everywhere. And as a musician, I want to be a part of the festival. I also have my planning background where I want to help build things and keep it going, and I also want to do my gigs. And it's a lot to keep your schedule together and keep your, okay, I can rage on this day, but this day I need to eat and sleep and drink water and stay alive and still make it to play your sets, and you get paid well for these events, and there's thousands of people there sometimes. And I would encourage people to maybe start the way I did, help out, build the festival, get in on the production side, help build the stage, or help set up the sound or something like that, and get your way in, and then you be able to perform. And you could be opening, but you could also, in a few years, get up to the level where you could headline or something like that. And it's good for publicity and cash and learning.
Go down the line. David?
Festival, I mean, you got paid at Burning Man?
No, not at Burning Man. That's illegal.
David, you went to Woodstock, didn't you? David, did you go to Woodstock?
What?
Did you go to Woodstock?
No. No, Burning Man, like Kathleen knows,
You don't get paid there, but it's a good
I
experience.
go to Burning Man, I'm like, no, I don't want to rehearse, and no, I really don't even want to play. That's my job. I want to just party and enjoy the art, and ride around on my bike, and for me, music is my job, and I love it. I love making music, but it's like my job, and I don't. Sometimes I'd rather be doing something else. Honestly, they're just very honestly the truth.
So you'd go to a festival and fest, and you wouldn't want to actually perform or anything?
Well, I performed, yeah, but festivals are weird because there's all this stuff, and you go up and do your set, and it feels like 45 minutes and you're done, and then it's weird, I don't really like festivals, I have to say. Although I did have really fun at Coachella, like 2 years when I went out as part of an art installation, and I was in a hippopotamus mask and a business suit.
And you could have played a dope gig with that costume.
But that was, yeah.
That is the goal. Hippopotamus man in the suit?
Yeah.
No, and the suit.
Yeah, you've made it when you're in a hippopotamus mask and a business suit, and you're performing.
You have arrived.
And people are looking at you going,
Except at a festival, they're going, "You're my hero."
So, festival culture is, in the kind of music that I played, I basically played for a long time in a funk band. It's a party band, so festivals called. And I have been a great beneficiary of festival culture growing over the last 15 years. And it really has grown, like, majorly. And I understand why. I've been to so many, both as a participant and when I was younger, going and just being part of a festival, camping, and having an immersive experience, right? It's a time to get out of your regular life, to go create communities, right? And not just big community, like the community of this. I mean, like the people you're camping with, like your friends who you invited and sometimes have come from far and wide to be together, and you're creating community in that time and then celebrating the power of music. And, festivals, because really the festival game really changed when Bonnaroo came around. And basically, there had never been like a mega festival that could incorporate so many bands here in the States. They've been doing that in Europe for a long time. But it really changed the game here. And so all these mega festivals started, Coachella being one of them, Bonnaroo, all these festivals started popping up. And when they did, all the little mom and pop festivals got eaten up, right? Because it was like, well, I could go see all the local bands on something's farm for $50, or me and my friends are all going to spend $2,000 and go to Bonnaroo and camp and do all these things. And so, young people only have so much expendable income to go to those kind of festivals. But what ended up happening is that at first it really ate up all those little festivals, and we were feeling it as a band that, during the summertime months, really our business is, the festival season used to be just the summer. And now it is all year. Like literally our band would be booked in the entire year of festivals. Because what starts happening is all the nice sunny places have festivals in the winter. Florida, I do Jam Cruise, during January we do it on a cruise ship, and then we do Jamaican holidays where they do one of these festivals in Jamaica, and then that just runs right into the summertime festivals that would be produced around here. But, I really appreciate the culture, and a lot of young people, as I talk to them, that's where they're consuming most of their music, right? And I'm a huge advocate for local music, local clubs, seeing music in intimate spaces. Because for me personally, a year ago I was playing on a stage for 35,000 people with this group called Big Gigantic, right? And it was amazing, singing in front of 35,000 people. But like we were saying with the high-paying gigs, it was just like, I had no connection with it. It was just a sea. I couldn't see one single person, right? It was just I was so far away from the people.
Yeah, that is a weird thing. It's become so abstract when you're playing
So
for a really
abstract.
big crowd. You're like looking out, and there's no connection. Plus, the stage is so big that the band is spread out. The only way you're hearing each other at all is you have giant monitors, and if the monitor mix sucks, it's horrible.
That is the truth.
You usually have a monitor guy there, but at a festival you don't get a full sound check, so you're just like, I need more vocal or whatever, you're like, half the time.
Exactly.
You're just powering through, and then you're looking, I've played for 100,000 people several times, and it's just abstract.
Yep.
They've never been my favorite gigs, you know, it's just a little bit like, you know.
Exactly. So there's this big thing, and then I come back to town here and I play my Monday night gig for 25 people at this place called the Candlelight.
Yeah, right, and you're sweaty, and
It's-
people are like,
Yeah, and it's so intimate, and we are really stretching, and you know, our musicianship, and people are appreciating it, and there's a real connection there. And so I really appreciate festival culture because, for one, it's a place that there is money to be made as a musician. It's real. People are spending their money there, and I really want people to go consume music in your town at different places and feel what the different rooms are like, right? It's like this Portland area has some great rooms. I mean, the Wonder, the Doug Fir. I mean, a lot of these places maybe you've been, you haven't been, but when you become of age, you can go into all of them. And there's great rooms, and each of them has its own vibe, you know? Each of them has its own sound system that's dialed. I mean, the Doug Fir sounds so good. I've seen some of the best shows there. And yeah, so I love festival culture, and I also fear that for a lot of young people, that it's going to be the place that they pretty much only consume music, when you can go to Coachella and see like 1,000 bands or something, right? So, there you go.
I think I personally have trouble with festivals just because I never understood why playing music meant I had to be around drunk people all the time, you know, or around high people. It's like when I was touring, to whatever degree I was touring, it's just like every night that some drunk guy would get in my face and his breath would be terrible and I'd have to like, you know. And so like that's what I associate with festivals. It's probably unfair, but that's just what I do. But I think the spirit of your question about, you know, the communal effect of dance music, which is what most festivals are kind of about. I think I prefer to have it in a different setting, but I do think that having a group of people all experiencing the same music and moving in the same way and to the same beat has a very obvious healing effect, even though we can't kind of quantify it. But, you know, when my dad died last year, and the day I found out, I had a gig that night and I did not cancel it. I played it because that's where I wanted to be. I wanted to be playing music with two of my favorite musicians at the Sea Monster, the same tiny club in Seattle that I played every Tuesday for 5 years. That's where I wanted to be, you know. And so there's an obvious power to being around that music, and festivals are a big place where you can do that. But you know, just don't get drunk. That's all.
For me, as an electronic music artist, if I were to give any artist who's trying to get into that scene and succeed, I would tell them to go to Burning Man, because there's something you get from these festivals that you don't get from anything else, and that is camaraderie. And it goes back to the first thing I said to you guys when we first came in here, and I answered the first question. It's about building these interpersonal relationships. And there's nowhere better to do it than sitting in front of a campfire or sitting in front of a DJ, meeting people, interacting with people, and developing these friendships. And you build a bond with people when you're dancing in front of a DJ and he's blowing your mind and he's blowing their mind, and everybody, you look over and everyone's just like, oh my God, this is insane, this is incredible. That's how you start these friendships. Some of those friendships could be lifelong relationships that you have with people. So honestly, I think for a DJ or an electronic music producer who's trying to make something out of the music and succeed in it, Burning Man and a festival like that is one of the best places in the world to go and meet like-minded people and make some friends, meet some people that are better than you, that you can learn from and grow from, and develop these relationships. And that's where it starts. It starts on the dance floor, and it goes from there. So I would advise everybody to go at least once. Go check it out and see if you like it or not. Yeah. That's it.
They all have to be part of the choir once before they graduate from this program.
Yes.
I would like to take a quick second and thank Kathleen here.
Yeah.
I'm so stoked to be here. I know these guys are too. It's such an honor to talk to all you guys and share this knowledge. It's like I got it all pent up inside me, and I've always wanted to be able to express myself and share some of the experiences I've had. So Kathleen, thank you so much for having us out, having me out. I'm grateful to be here.
Well, I'll send that the other way then, and thank the CCC Foundation for helping support financially this project, because if they didn't help us, we probably would have one of you here.
And that it goes to show that it has to be somebody's choice to support this. Somebody had to justify to them why we needed to be here and what we could do for you. And whoever funded it had to have a reason to do it. And it's the same when you're deciding how you consume music, you have a choice. If you decide to pay $10 a month for streaming and that's it, you're not really making a choice to support individual artists, because, you know, Taylor Swift gets $5,000 from Google every year, or something ridiculous like that. So if you really want to support music and make it sustainable, you will buy the things that you like, not stream them.
And you'll go see the artist live. You'll go see him perform. Even the small guys, go see them. If you've never heard of them, go check them out. They might be horribly horrible, or they might be the most insane thing you've ever seen, but as long as and this is something I've always tried to tell everybody, as an artist, for me personally, and this is really important, the thing that bothers me the most about people who interact with my music is when I get no response at all. If people just blow right past what I'm doing, my photos, my music, and they don't have any response, I would rather have somebody say, "I hate that song." I pulled an emotional response out of them. They reacted to it.
Yeah.
That's what I want. I drew a reaction from those people.
Yes.
I love it. I hate it. I want to hear one or the other. I don't want to hear and then just keep going. Nothing bothers me more. So, yeah, I think that's an important part of it. Is I want the emotional response, whether it's good or bad is irrelevant.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to add was just go see live music. You know, you want to hone being a performer or see what it's like, go see live music. See different people in your role doing what you do, doing it the way that they do it. It's really valuable. It changes me. Anytime that I am in a funk, not the good kind, musically, where I've hit a roadblock, I want some inspiration, I go buy music, I go to music, I see live music, and almost every time something clicks. So.
Can I ask what everyone's music is here? How many singers do we have? A lot of singers, and guitar, and piano, and oboe.
The French horn. No French horn players?
Trumpet?
Trumpet, drums. Who's on drums? Oh, nice. You drummers look like drummers. You guys are.
What about bass? We got some bass players. So.
Cowbell?
Everyone can play the cowbell.
That is so not true.
Yeah. Very true. Important.
Yeah, if, you know, looking around, if I were one of you and I heard the question, how many bass players are there, and you saw like 1.5 hands come up, hey, there's an opportunity. You can pick up a bass, and you're going to have a lot of people looking for you.
That's true.
Or the one bass player, you can crush it because you're the only one.
Get all the gigs.
Sir.
I kind of going back to like the growing up thing. Did you guys like grow up with music in your life? Because I know, for me, no one in my family was really interested in music. It was all like sports all the time, and I didn't. I was the first one in my family to pick up music. I didn't take any lessons or anything all through high school. I self-taught myself guitar, and I didn't really learn any like theories or like I did.
For me, I started when I was about 10 years old. We used to go to this restaurant that was down the street from my house, and they just happened to have a disco. And while we were waiting for our table, I would wander into the disco, and there was this lady there, and over the course of several years, we'd go to this place like once a month, and I'd wander in there, and being a young kid, 10, 12 years old, I'd walk in there, and she was playing music. It was early, so no one was there, and that was my first taste of that kind of music. It was disco at the time, like we're talking 78 to 80, so the tail end of that era. But anyway, now I produce electronic music, so there's probably some connection there. So for me, yeah, music was part of it early on in my life, and I just kept stuck with it.
No. No, my parents were engineers, and they were very disappointed when they found out this is what I wanted to do. And I lied my way through college so I can get a music degree, and I'm very happy that I did it that way. And it works out. You know?
I love that. Yeah, neither of my parents did music. My dad's a carpenter, so. And my dad had an amazing record collection, and so did my mom, and exposed me to so much music. And no matter when I started to have a preference in what music, the musics that were played during my childhood are a part of me forever.
Me too.
Like, I hear Irish music. My mom loved Irish music, and there's something in there for me. Even though I don't really actively listen to Irish music, right now, but when I hear it, it's like, yeah. So, I mean, no matter when you decide to do it, that it's something you're interested in, it's like the seed was already in there long ago. And probably your parents had something to do. I'm not saying they totally did, but.
I love Irish music. Yeah, I'm 63, and I have 3 kids and 5 grandkids. My dad's still waiting for me to grow up and get a job.
There you go.
I will say I've always loved music, and you heard my story. I just kind of picked it up and realized that I was good and wanted to keep going. But I can remember as a kid always loving to dance, always setting up my cousins in little dance groups for Thanksgiving and stuff. I was like, all right, we're gonna do these moves and we're gonna sing this song, and I always just wanted to be doing that. And actually tried to get into dance school and wasn't good enough for that. But I would break Michael Jackson VHS tapes watching them and doing all the moves, and just was music. I loved music, but did office work and worked in the medical field for a long time. But I remember helping out a friend at an art show that they were doing. And I don't remember what I was doing, maybe passing out name badges or something. But I had my one earring in and my whatever funky clothes, and sort of just being myself. And one of the women that was selling jewelry at the show was like, who are you? What do you do? What's your thing? And I was like, I'm a medical receptionist, and it's not that awesome. And she was like, what? No, you need to work on something artsy. I can see it on you and feel it on you, and you should follow that and cultivate that. And it was this epiphany for me. She was like the Oracle, and and I was like, oh my God, you're right. I used to dance, and I used to make dance groups for Thanksgiving or whatever, and kind of still didn't jump right on it. But when the opportunity came to learn how to DJ and to start curating music and throwing parties and setting up the lineup and things like that, I took those opportunities right away, because it was something that was in me and was part of a love and passion of my life. And I think that is true for most artists. It's there, you just gotta bust it out. Whether your parents, have anything to do with it or not.
And if I could tack on to David's dad's sentiment, my dad A year and a half ago, I put out a video of some music that I had been working on, and he'd never been, super supportive, and I don't know why I did, but I sent it to him. Hey, Dad, this is what I've been working on, and I just want to share with you the email I got back. It was pretty funny. Hi, Tarek. I watched the video, and it is still a long way of being something many people will want to own. You seem to be in a situation where you are not even going to be considered middle class. Your music career is advancing very slowly, and your earnings are not keeping up with inflation, and you are all by yourself. Pretty soon, you will be a middle-aged, lonely man.
This is a joke.
Wait, it's not done. I've been trying to encourage you to find a suitable girl and marry, but it looks like you still do not want to. Okay, so you get the sense of, right? And the reason I share that is, one, I think it's really funny, and it's just a funny way that he showed his love. No, it wasn't funny at the time. I was really upset.
You need a hug after
But
It's good you can laugh about it.
there's two kind of lessons in there. One is that when you're taking a risk on creating something, you'll often look to the people really close to you, around you, for support, and a lot of times it won't be there, right? For a lot of reasons. One, it just might not be their thing. My dad just didn't like jazz. He liked, when we would hang out together, he would buy weird Chinese zither music from the market. It's like this really weird. I don't know what he liked, but he didn't like what I made, and so I had to kind of keep that in mind. This is not his music, all right? And the other thing is, especially with parents, he had a different priority and a different way of looking at what success was. He was born in a village outside of Cairo in 1946. His dad died when he was 11. He had a brother die in the Arab-Israeli War. His mom became paralyzed right after that. He managed to go to an English college and learn engineering, and then he emigrated to the US and became an engineer, and then was a consultant all over. So there's all this advancement in his life, and he was making a lot of money. And so this is what he sees progress like that as success. And here his son with every advantage, Dad, could I have some money to make a funk fusion record? He's not going to react well to that. He was worried for me, and he loved me. He wanted me to have the things that he had. And so my idea of what support would be, which was yeah, good job, was not his idea of what support would be. So I just wanted to share that with you.
Oh my
That's
God.
a great story.
Therapy department?
Yeah.